Yeah, g'day legends. I'm David Seymour and you're watching StudyTime, Wholesome Half Hour.
Kia ora guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Wholesome Half Hour.
Nothing to see here.
I'm Mackenzie, Saren's tutoring with things as he always does, and we're accompanied very briefly with Raz. Bye
Hello.
Raz. With Raz?
Did you say
bye
bye?
Raz? Bye with? What's
With?
the correct terminology?
Yeah, what's wrong with bye though?
With bye?
By accompanied by Raz? With Raz?
With Raz.
You're accompanied with me.
Yeah, you're with us.
I feel like both work.
Both, okay.
I don't know.
Started strong there.
So in this week's episode, we're going to be answering all your guys' questions that you always give us, and we'll also just be going on a yarn about some extra exam strats, because obviously you guys are in the middle of that stuff right now, and it would be stupid for us to talk about anything else because it's exams. So yeah. Cool.
Before we hit the questions, I just want to have a little chat about exams.
Go on.
Yeah, the topic. Just like, I don't know, some advice for exams. Morning.
Wait, can I pause you for 2 seconds?
You can.
Can Raz give it his
Yeah,
advice,
what's
and then
your
he can
advice for
go,
exams?
and then we can.
My advice for exams?
Your advice for
In
exams.
general, for life, whatever.
My advice for life and for exams is, well, you want to come into an exam with an open mind and an open heart. I don't know, I find it very difficult to give you advice for exams.
I guess what is one of the biggest things that you would like tell your students?
So sorry everyone who's got an exam tomorrow. If you really want to go into an exam, making sure you've done every past exam you could get your hands on. I always make sure my students have done every single past exam leading up to the exam. I'm really sorry if you haven't done that and you've got your exam tomorrow.
Pull an all-nighter, she'll be right.
Yeah, all night, do every single one of them.
Don't pull an all-nighter, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your biggest piece of advice?
My biggest piece of advice, do past exams. Keep your cool in the exam. If you look at a question and you think you have no idea how to do it, like that will probably be your first thought. You just need to stop, deep breath, read the question again, read the question again, and then go for it. Yeah,
I think quite often students like skim a question like as their first thing to do, and if it seems unfamiliar from that, like quite a lot of people get disheartened in an exam because they think, oh, I don't know it, and they get stroppy with it. Give it another read, because maybe you like missed something the first time. I know quite often as well you can read something and you'd be like, I don't even have all the information that I need, and you probably do. I would say you do, because you need to be able to answer the question. I don't think NCEA's messed it up that bad before.
Yeah. You also think you know what they're asking you when you start the question. They're like, oh, they're asking for X or whatever, and so you'll launch right in, whereas they actually wanted to find like how, the maximum point or something. Yeah,
no, that's a good point. If you read a question and you don't know what to do, read it again. Okay, thank you for briefly joining us.
That's right. Good luck everyone. Good luck for your exams.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
See ya, thanks for coming. Cool, I'm just gonna move the camera this way slightly.
Okay.
I'll let you go past this though.
And if so from what I was saying before, if you read a question the very first time and you have no clue what to do, stop and read it again, and maybe use a highlighter or your pen to underline all the key bits of information that you've been given. And then if you, vice versa, if you begin to read a question, you think you know what they're going to ask you and you dive straight in, I would also recommend pausing and then actually taking time to read the full question, because quite often students can launch themselves into something and a little bit gung-ho, and that's really good. And what might happen is that you're looking for the wrong thing, because you sort of leapt into it a bit too quickly and didn't read all of the information. I think that's also something that can happen. But what are your thoughts on the exams and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I was thinking a bit of advanced preparation and stuff that isn't strictly study in itself.
Okay.
I was thinking, so kind of night before and morning off. A couple of things. If you, I know for me, I definitely, if I have something big on the next day, whether it be an exam or something else, I will find it hard to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Just because it's on my mind.
Okay.
And I guess one thing you can do about that is have some sort of wind down routine, but you don't want to do this exclusive. If you're going to do this at all, you don't want to make it something you do exclusively on the exam day, because it's just not going to work.
Okay.
For a nightly routine or wind down routine to work, it has to be something that you do every night.
Okay.
So something I would recommend is put your phone away like half an hour before you go to sleep. Like set your alarm and then like put it in flight mode and don't touch it.
Cool.
Something like shower, teeth. If you like reading a book, that's good. Fiction books are good, not non-fiction, because non-fiction tends to make your mind more alert.
We have to engage with it.
Yeah. Bath if you're into that, but some sort of consistent wind down routine.
Okay.
And then when you have the exam after doing that on like a normal night for 5 nights, 10 nights, whatever. When you have an exam night, you're much more and if you're you get used to that routine and then falling asleep at the end of that routine, you're much more likely to fall asleep on the exam night.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Are we?
Morning off, don't be late to the exam, ideally. That's quite stressful.
Yeah, that's never awesome.
Set 5 alarms, get your sibling to harass you, whatever.
For all of you studying level 2 maths tomorrow, here is your friendly reminder from StudyTime. Make sure you have a calculator packed already. If you don't have a calculator packed, pause this.
Stop this video.
Stop this, pause it, and pack it right now. That's and if you don't have a calculator, make sure you get to your school earlier again so that you can find a teacher who can provide one for you, because there's nothing like running around your school with a chicken a chicken with its head cut off 5 minutes before your exam because you were the person who forgot their calculator. There's always one. There's always one.
That's not what I wanted. I do not want the sound.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
Are we
going to answer IG
other
questions?
general? We'll start with some. We'll start with some.
We'll start with some IG questions, and then we will answer some of your other ones that are starting to come through on the live stream.
Cool. Man, we put out a lot of Instagram stories.
A couple of the ones that I remember just off the top of my head were about level 1 history, which I'm assuming is very soon if people are asking about it. Tips for level 1 history once Sarah's finished crackling his paper.
Sorry.
My tips are make sure that you read the essay question that you're given for your causes and consequences. So for causes and consequences, you know the event you're going to be talking about. It's very likely that you're going to have a general essay that you're actually going to be basically reproducing in the exam. But I highly, highly recommend you make sure you read the entire question and all the components of it, because it might say relate your event to the short-term events or the long-term events, or it's probably going to be more than just importance to New Zealanders. And it's really important to read this, because if you just slap down straight onto the page the essay that you've learned, you're not going to get full marks because you haven't related your essay 100% to the essay question, and that applies for all subjects.
English, everything, yeah.
Make sure you have a strong structure. So for history, I really recommend using sexy structure, which is statement, explanation, example, why, link it, summary, why is it important to New Zealanders, why is it long term, why is it short term, why is it cultural, why is it, all those kind of things, those kind of keywords. Also, I'm going on a bit of a spiel. Make sure that when you're writing your essay, you're not giving a summary of the event itself. You're not going to get, I'm just going to put this out now. Teachers don't want a recount of the event itself. At level 2 and level 3, you might have an event paragraph that is 3 sentences max. You would hardly call it a paragraph. Do not tell them just the event. They don't care. They already know it. They're history teachers. They already know it. They don't care. But I'm going to cut this short, but make sure you follow a strong structure, and using the structure, make sure you don't turn it into a narrative. For sources, good luck if you choose to sit it. And make sure that you are familiar with how to assess a source, particularly would be the biggest thing that you can sort of prepare for going into it, because obviously you're not going to know what the event is, and you're only going to be given the resource booklet. So, make sure you know the difference between primary and secondary sources, how to tell if something's reliable, how to tell if something is biased, to what degree is it biased, how much can we rely on this. Making sure you know all those general rules quite well is also something that I would recommend for history, just in general. Level 1, yes, but history in general.
Cool. I'm just going to go through some of the quick questions that can be answered in a sentence. Are you guys going to do a level 3 maths and statistics guide for next year? We already have one, studytime.co/guides. It already exists. Go get it. how do I stop procrastinating? Please help me. Put your phone away. Just commit to studying for literally 25 minutes. Pick one thing that you can do, be it a past exam, make your mind map, one simple thing, 25 minutes, set a timer, go for it. Thoughts on this year's level 1 unfamiliar? You get the same very weird range of text that you always seem to get in unfamiliar.
I think with unfamiliar, everyone's going to complain about it regardless. It could be like a really, really nice exam and people are still going to complain about it. That's just the nature of unfamiliar text. At the end of the day, it comes down to you producing your own ideas and using the evidence to back it up. If you've got evidence to back up an idea, it's not necessarily wrong. Remember that, all of English topics and interpretation and stuff is all down to you. If you can provide the evidence for it, then, it is what it is. It's very difficult to argue what an author is meant to mean by a text unless they've explicitly said so themselves. So,
and also just rolling back a bit, Mackenzie earlier was talking about for history, not talking heaps about the event. That applies to any subject. So in English, don't talk heaps about your text, be it your book or your film.
Your teacher knows what To Kill a Mockingbird is.
In media, don't talk heaps about your film. Like they know what it is. The point of your essay is to prove a thesis that answers your question.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to do. The text is simply using it as like a tool to prove it. You don't need to give heaps and heaps of not necessary. How to cheat for level 2 accounting? Just don't cheat would be my advice.
I would recommend not cheating.
Highly recommend not cheating.
I'm sorry I can't give you any quick tips on accounting though. That's not our forte.
Count the monies.
Yeah, why do we need accounting, love? Just count the money.
It's a good meme, eh?
Good meme.
Good meme. Arctic Compounds, tomorrow we're going to be doing a science live stream around midday.
Yeah.
Tune in for that.
Can I just, amendment to last week, we had somebody say that I was wrong when I said
You're wrong,
that.
Mackenzie.
I'm always wrong.
You're wrong.
Somebody said that I was wrong when I said that externals do count towards endorsements. They count towards course endorsements. They don't count towards... Like you can get an overall endorsement solely based off your internal credits. However, if you want a course endorsement, 3 or 4 of your credits have to come from externals. I think maybe I just didn't make that 100% clear last time, but you can get your overall endorsement just based off internal credits. Like that is a thing that can be done. Is what I did.
Does NCEA grade you down on your handwriting? Only if they can't read it?
Yeah, only if it is 100% illegible.
So usually what will happen is if an examiner finds it hard to read, they'll give it to like a different marker. So if like 2 or 3 markers can't read your handwriting, then you have a bit of trouble. Apart from that, you'll be fine.
If you are really not confident with your handwriting, you can practice.
Like not just making it tidier, but also just practice writing for an hour because it's not something people normally do. So writing for 3 hours, I had to write an exam last week. Writing for 2 hours, it hurts your head. It's intense. So during the study period, take advantage and when you're doing past exams, handwrite them and try do extended periods of time purely to practice handwriting. Because for a lot of people, handwriting for 3 hours or even 2 hours,
it's a
reasonably
thing.
non-stop. It's not even difficult. It's more that it's not something you're used to. Anything that you're not used to is going to be challenging because that's how life works. That's how the anatomy of the human hand works.
Exactly.
Cool. We'll get back into questions in a moment. I just wanted to, last night we had a piece go up on StudyTime, you should check it out on our website, about mitigating stress and stuff around study.
Okay.
And I was thinking, because I don't know, for it's very clear, we see it at StudyTime, we get so many questions, so many people are studying really hard, which is awesome, it's awesome to see. But I feel like this is also a really stressful time of the year.
Okay.
And I just wanted to just put it out there and say whilst you should totally give it your best shot and everything, you don't have to your exams aren't going to make and break your life.
No.
And I think it's very easy in the midst of exams. I think it's very easy to forget that.
Yeah.
Exams won't make and break your life. There's some really good advice in the article, but essentially one thing you can do is look back on any event 5 years ago. So maybe a good example for you is when you went to high school, when you left your primary or intermediate school and you went into high school at the time, like it can seem like quite a daunting thing.
Yeah.
But by the time you finish high school, like that doesn't seem like anything.
Okay.
And essentially, like if you apply that to exams, that's probably how you'll view exams in another 5 years.
Yeah, 100%. Like I could not tell you my grades that I got in NCEA, like at all.
No.
I could remember a couple, but at the end of the day, like I don't remember it. Should we answer a few questions off the live stream?
Yeah, sure.
What is easier, level 2 calculus or algebra? Depends on how much effort you want to put in.
They're both relatively challenging, but
I would
both
say, yeah,
also
like-
perfectly achievable if you put some time into studying them.
People consistently consider stats like the easy maths. They're used for different purposes, so I think you can't compare them against each other. Maybe if you don't know which one you want to take.
Saying stats is like the easy maths. It's like saying a spoon is an easy fork.
Yeah.
Like,
They're just
kind of, but no.
think about what it is that you potentially want to do, and then what would be most relevant to it. So say you're interested in something like engineering, like obviously you're going to take something like calculus. However, if you are thinking of going to university and you want to study a humanity, I would recommend stats because that is 100% going to be a part of it. It's a really, really big part of it. So think about what is relevant and what would be most helpful to you if that's something that you're considering.
One question that's just come up here in the live stream, and we get like a lot of comments about, and some people talk about it because it's a very real prospect, and I feel like some people talk about it because, I don't know, it's kind of like a cool thing to talk about, is like they feel like they're going to fail, like whether they're going to
people like having like a
that I'm going to fail this exam, but they're like, so like a few things.
Well, are you talking about when, excuse my French, when people have like a pissing contest as to who like knows the least?
Yes, I'm talking about that and people who are actually in a position where they might fail.
Right, okay.
So because I feel there is definitely two strands of that line of thought.
Yeah. There's those who like genuinely might fail and those who say they're going to fail and then they're like, what?
Yeah. So a couple of things. Even if you only have 20, I genuinely believe that even if you've been to school for like at least like a decent part of the year, even if you only have 2 or 3 days or even 24 hours to study for an exam, I reckon you can work your way to an achieved very easily.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%.
So if you...
It's about being strategic.
Yeah, it's about being strategic, absolutely. So what I would say is, say you have 24... We'll give you like the 3-day version, but you can condense this down into 24 hours if you really needed to. The first thing I would do is find out what you...
Sorry, can I just ask, can you guys let us know if it's still difficult to hear us?
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What I would do is first find out what you need to know. The easiest way to do that, look at a StudyTime checklist. StudyTime.co/guides has the checklist. Or like look at a past exam. And if you're doing the past exam method, just do as much as you can do.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at a checklist, like check off what you can do. And
Thank you, Olivia. Continue.
Then, so after doing the past exam, a lot of people will realise they know, like just by doing that in itself, will know they have enough to pass.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, especially if you're level 2 or 3, the stuff you need to pass is stuff from level 1.
Yeah.
So that's step 1.
Okay. Are you still going?
Yeah, I'm still going.
Go.
Unless you had something to add.
No. Go.
So step 2, I would watch the strategy video if there's one for your subject, StudyTime.co/strategy.
Yeah.
And in that, identify the key. In those videos, we very clearly identify like
The key parts of the standard.
parts of it. Identify the ones you don't know.
Yeah.
Get the guide or look at the guide, learn those, then do another past paper again and see which ones you do.
Yeah.
And kind of rinse and repeat for every one of those core concepts.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, if you say the night before or you say 2 days before, it's too late. It's not.
It's not too late.
Like,
don't fall into that trap.
recognize that it's your own defeatist attitude, not actual lack of capability. Sorry, that's a hard to swallow pill, but it's true. I'm going to quick fire through some of your guys' questions. Helpful Level 1 Maths, we're probably going to do another separate Q&A live stream regarding this closer to the exam, so bear that one in mind. Any tips on how to cheat for Level 2 accounting? No, we've already done that. Accounting Level 2, tips for Level 2 unfamiliar. So we've got unfamiliar strategy videos. Yes?
Level 2 unfamiliar will be coming out later this week. Level 1 unfamiliar is already out.
And they're not crazy different from each other. So if you
There's also a
wanting
video already out called, sorry.
No, go.
There's already a video already out called How to Get E8 in 90 Seconds on Unfamiliar Text.
Yeah.
Watch that.
So the level 1 isn't hugely different. Oh, it is different in some respects to level 2, but if you want a place to start, 100% recommend level 1 as a...
Level 2 video will be out in a couple of days.
Tips for studying for languages: make sure that you are comfortable with your vocab and that you have practiced. One thing that I would recommend is quite often when you're practicing listening tests and stuff like that, that you are using a range of accents in a range of voices that you're listening to, so male, female,
and also
different
just
provinces.
actually practice the listening parts. I don't know, when I practice for languages, I don't remember actually ever practicing the listening part.
It is crazy.
Even though it is half the exam?
It is crazy how much in an exam or in a different scenario that a different voice, whether that be male, female, or even between sexes, or even different accents and things like that, how much that can change your actual comprehension. So bear that in mind and make sure that you've sort of listened to kind of like a variety of things. Tips for level 1 maths, geometric reasoning. We did a bit of a Q&A on that before, so check that out, and we might also be doing another level 1 soon. Level 3 chem and physics, we're doing a science live stream tomorrow at around 12:30. So that'll be a thing, and we'll probably put out a question Q&A thing on our IG either later tonight or tomorrow morning. Tips for level 1 mechanics, read earlier, answer. What do you do when you're going to fail?
We just talked about that.
Yeah, kind of just talked about, I think, try not to go into an exam with that attitude. And that was a previous question that we had before, more of a statement, odds on like SNA to all of your papers.
Oh, yeah.
So for anyone that doesn't know that, it's standard not assessed, and a lot of people think that that is somehow better than not achieved. Doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you're not going to get the credits regardless.
It really
if
doesn't
you have the time,
matter.
if you have the time, might as well give it a go.
If you have the time, you might as well give it a go. I totally believe in that.
Yeah. I think what to do if you genuinely think you're going to fail, listen to what Sarah was saying before about preparing for an exam. You can actually do a fair amount in just a couple days. It's about what you're studying, not necessarily...
So things not to do, just reading notes without applying it.
Not useful.
No use. Don't do practice papers with the answers open, because it's very easy to read the paper and be like, oh, I would have said that, when you actually wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Give it a shot blind, and then once you're finished trying it, then have a look at the answer.
Yeah.
You'd be shocked at I guess what I'd say is think about your average maths lesson. You usually walk in not knowing how to do a particular thing, and you walk out knowing how to do this particular. And admittedly, it's a small thing, but if you can do that 5 of those in a day, that's usually enough to pass a standard.
Yeah.
Most standards will only have think about it. There's only 3 or 4 questions in most exams. I know they're big questions, but that's only 3 or 4 different skills.
Yeah.
So if you can get those 3 or 4 skills down, which you easily can do in a day.
If you can look at a lot of the past papers and see the stuff that comes up every year, because there's always topics that come up every year. And if you know that those ones at least, you can generally scrape through a standard. Obviously, if you are comfortable with a lot of the content, all the stuff that kind of might come up one year, might come up another year, you're going to be able to answer more confidently. But yeah, make sure that you're at least hitting the general stuff that comes up consistently.
Yeah, and you'd be shocked. I mean, I have also done it for university exam once.
Yeah.
Where you look at the exam, and if you actually look at the exam closely, it usually only comes down to a small handful, less than 10, always less than 10, fundamental types of questions.
Yeah.
Identify them, work out how to do them, go from there. Be strategic with your time. You'd be really surprised at what you can achieve. And the reason, I know I've been going on about that again and again, but we see it again and again. We see these comments and about people being I'm going to fail. And I genuinely believe that if you put in some effort now,
you can.
You totally can pass.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's totally worth putting the effort in.
Yes, Savannah, there will be a cheat sheet for level 1 acids and bases. It will come out at the same time we put out our strategy videos, so it'll be out tonight.
The strategy video is already out for acids and bases.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, is it likely interquartile range will be in my level 2 maths probability exam? I can't tell you 100% for sure, but just if you're not sure, your interquartile range is your middle 50% of data, so it's the difference between your lower quartile and your upper quartile.
It's just upper quartile minus lower quartile.
Yeah.
I remember that. I don't do maths anymore.
The thing with that
I reckon I
is,
just a better word for that.
I feel like that is a pretty general term that you should be comfortable with what that means. I don't really know if you have box and whisker graphs come up in level 2 probability. I know I took it myself, but I can't remember off the top of my head. At least knowing what it is.
Interquartile range, upper quartile minus lower quartile. It's the distance between those two.
Someone asked, what about level 2 calc? I'm sorry, I'm not sure about level 2 calc what you're asking. There was a Q&A video that we just did.
As well.
So we have a lot of strategy videos and cheat sheets coming out with all of them. We're aiming to have all of them out at least a week before the exams. Kind of.
A few days before the exam.
Few days before the exam.
Yeah. Here's a bit of a more relaxed question. How did StudyTime come about? I'm not sure if you know this. I know this, but you don't know this?
Answer.
So we are part of a company, or our boss who started the company. We also run a tutoring company called Inspiration Education. And obviously tutoring is quite expensive and tutoring is not necessarily accessible for everyone. And so he wanted to create a platform where we can engage students for free, 90%, except for the guides, everything we do is free. And that's how StudyTime came about. I guess it's not a long, Yeah,
essentially it was Will, I feel like some of you guys will know who he is. Just wanted to create a platform where essentially any student could access it, regardless of things like financial capabilities and that kind of thing. So that's kind of that.
I also wanted to say that this is a new thing as well. If you want it, StudyTime is now offering tutoring, like direct through StudyTime, studytime.co.nz/tutoring, and you can book in, and you can you can be in a session like if you have your exam tomorrow, it's not too late. You can book someone, and someone will be with you in a couple of hours. We're offering it for literally every subject you could possibly imagine. Something like 100 and something externals. So studytime.co.nz/tutoring.
So the sessions are external specific.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're paid one-on-one, Skype, so you don't have to go or Zoom rather, but you don't have to go anywhere. Really easy to book into that. If you want some help at the last minute, that's another resource to access.
Yes, there will be strategy videos for level 3 bio and English.
Yeah, there'll be strategy videos for all the sciences.
For all the sciences at every level, for all the maths, for all the English. Some of the more niche subjects.
We have been doing blog posts for some of the smaller subjects, media studies,
We've
languages.
got an article that should be coming out today on how to study for humanities. So within that is a lot of the more niche subjects. So you've got your history and your classics, which is sort of the big ones that most schools offer. And then we've got things like crime and society, legal studies, religious studies, all kind of come under that umbrella. So be sure to check that out. It should be out today.
Yeah. We answered this last week, but I feel like it's an important thing, so I want to go over it again. Tips for self-doubt during an exam or anxiety during an exam. What's your approach?
Right. So we did kind of talk about this a bit last week. And if it's just one question that you're feeling a little bit stuck on, I think the advice that Raz kind of gave at the beginning when he was with us here briefly was quite good, is just sort of stop and take a moment and potentially just reread the question.
Don't be afraid to leave the question and come back to it later.
Yeah, that's a big thing as well. What I always did in exams is I always hooned through the questions that I knew I could answer quite easily, the achieved level stuff. And then I would go back to the questions that potentially required a little bit more engagement. So I knew at least I've covered a lot of the basic stuff, and now I'll just go back and go a bit more in depth. So if you are time aware, that is a strategy that you can use, so you know that you've at least picked up points consistently throughout the exam. Because I don't know if this is something we say very often, but in terms of time management, some students accidentally end up spending a lot of time on one section and not another. You are better off being consistently good than like momentarily excellent.
Yeah.
Like
you're better off answering like one or two parts of all three or all four questions rather than trying to complete the entirety of one question.
So take bio, for example, say you had 3 main questions and somebody got 5s and 6s, so they got like 6, 6, 5. And then somebody else spent like a lot of time on the first like 2 questions and then just like didn't have time for the third, and they got like a 7 and an 8. Like that's really good, but that's only 15 points, as opposed to if you got like, what was my example before, like 2 6s and a 5 is, it's roughly the same.
Yeah, but that only works if you get the excellence. Say you only
that's only if you do get the excellence.
Say you only got say you only got 2 merits. You got a 6 and a 5. That's 11.
Yeah.
Whereas if you got 4 cheaps, which is way easier to get, that's 12.
Yeah. You're better off at least like covering everything first and going back and being more in depth if you do have the time.
It's
just strategically
for that reason as well. Like set time limits for things. 1 hour per exam. If it's a 3 question exam, 20 minutes per question.
Yeah.
And be like really harsh with yourself. If you can, like if you have time at the end, you're more than welcome to come back and spend more time on questions that you haven't. But like really just like if it's a 3 question exam, 20 minutes per question. If it's a 4 question exam, 15 minutes per question. Be strict with yourself. Keep an eye on the clock, because otherwise it is very easy to spend heaps of time on one question and you won't get rewarded for it.
No, that's just it as well. Like you might have a very nice and pretty, like one question might be very like nice and refined and like well done, but essentially at the end of the day it doesn't mean a lot when you've not touched anything else. That's just the math.
Cool.
What other IG questions have we got?
It's very annoying. You have to refresh it.
Not a lot of other questions at the moment. Was there anything at the beginning that I kind of missed?
How should I prepare well enough for what selected elements? Do you know what that is?
Selected elements? Is that like chem?
I don't know.
We're doing a science, Q&A tomorrow.
Wednesday. Or if you're listening to this podcast, it would be in the past, but you can look at it on Facebook.
Sorry, team.
You can look at it on Facebook.
I'm talking about it like it's a live stream, sorry.
Yeah. But the other thing I'd say for self-doubt during an exam is like if you do feel overwhelmed, like just pause for a second.
Yeah.
Classic mindfulness techniques, I'd recommend like trying them before the exam so they come more naturally to you during the exam.
And it's kind of the things that Sarah was saying before about making sure that you have a good routine, not just the night before the exam.
Yeah.
Like you can never do, and this is why you practice exam questions as well, is because you need practice in something before just doing it the first time. Like even after just like practicing something once, you're always going to be better at it than if you were doing it the first time. And that applies to study strategies, that applies to sitting exams, that applies to getting ready for exams, like legitimately everything that you could ever think of course practice is going to make something better.
Yeah. And that's why practice is so important. That's why like practicing things like not just the exam content, but practicing things like your routine on the night or even your morning routine, not just on exam days, but on other days as well, makes it much easier to execute that on the exam day. Because otherwise it's hard. Like literally, like if you're trying to like do a night routine just on the night of the exam, that's like theoretically as hard as like trying to answer like a chem question that you haven't practiced for before.
Yeah.
Like it's just not going to go smoothly.
Yeah.
Even
definitely.
if you, Awesome. What's the difference? Who is this?
Somebody asked for the study time is like
wholesome and whole meal.
Somebody briefly asked to explain what ionic compounds are. It's when 2 ions have come together to form a molecule, but we can answer that a bit more in depth tomorrow when we've got the science crew here.
If you're watching.
Or in the past. Sorry, I'm not very good at.
I'd highly recommend walkthrough guides, next day delivery on all of those, tutoring, strategy videos, cheat sheets.
Yeah.
You should 100% utilize those resources.
Yeah.
I've been tirelessly editing those videos.
Sarah's been working very hard, guys.
If you watch it.
Yeah, he's been working around the clock. We've had a couple questions about like the importance of exams and the importance of level 1. And one of the biggest things I want to say is somebody's asked, what does level 1 count towards? In the greater scheme of things, I'll be honest with you, not a lot. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try for it.
I think it comes back to that what we were just talking about.
Just talking about
habits and like just learning things.
practice. Yeah.
If like level 2 and 3 do matter if you want to get into university or even if you want to get into some other sort of tertiary course, right? If you like treat level 1 seriously, you study properly, you take you do the exams, like you give them a good shot and everything. When level 2 and 3 comes around, you're going to find it a lot easier to do that again
When
because
it is
you've
counting
already done
towards
it.
stuff.
When it counts towards something.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't do it this year, and you have to learn it next year, you're kind of like putting yourself at a disadvantage. And the other thing is like, I don't know, like what else are you going to do? Like if you don't it's only 2 weeks, like most people will finish exams in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
The next 2 weeks, you do some more study.
And then you've got all of summer.
And then you've got literally over 2 months to do whatever you want with.
Yeah. Like if you put that into context, like, you know, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
We had a question about, do exams/externals results matter more than internals? No. No. Externals and internals are equally weighed. 4 credits from an external is the same as 4 credits from an internal. One will tell you that they're external credits, one will tell you that they are internal credit or external, whatever the opposite of the other one I just said was.
The mind functions well.
I think at the end of the day, the reason that NCEA has both internals and externals is it gives students a chance to sort of like play to their strengths. Like some students are better at externals than they are internals. I know I personally was a lot better with internals than I was externals. I don't subscribe to the idea of putting everything down to one exam at the end of the year, and that's obviously what it used to be before NCEA, NZQA sort of NCEA took over, existed, if you will. And I think a lot of students prefer that because having internals throughout the year means that you can make good headway when it does come to exams, so that like you don't have to feel like everything comes down to exams. That's not to say that exams aren't important, but I think, would I say they're more important than internals? No. I just think it's a different format of assessing you. Yeah. That's essentially all it is.
Yeah, I would say they're the same. Yeah. Is the short answer.
Yeah.
And you had the long answer.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. What are the details for the tutors? Just go to studytime.co.nz/tutoring and you'll learn all about that. Mackenzie's. Are you doing online tutoring? No.
I think I'm doing online tutoring.
Yeah. It's all like
you could potentially have me as your tutor. Sorry.
If the computer, it's all automated. If the computer decides to assign you to Mackenzie, you may have that pleasure.
Sorry. It's always very fun for anyone that is interested, because obviously there is the one-on-one tutoring side of the company as well that we were talking about earlier. It's always funny when I have students and they're like, "Oh, what? Do you also work for StudyTime?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's a thing that exists."
Don't tell anyone.
Yeah, yes.
It's a secret. Only people who watch 35 minutes into the show get to.
What I love is seeing comments from people being like, "Oh, I saw so and so present it at the library," and it's like, "Yeah, we were tutoring."
Yeah, that's amazing. We get some harsh comments.
Yeah, we're planning on doing a video soon of someone just like shady comments.
Someone who watched this show told me, give my mans a throat lozenge.
He's very caught up on
your
this.
grammar is wrong, so...
Nah, I'm okay with it. I'm here for it.
Stuff you. And then, what? I mean, do you not like my voice? This is how my voice sounds. If you have a problem with that, you just don't watch the show.
Oh my God.
Me having a throat lozenge is not going to change the quality of this voice.
Oh, sorry, team. It's the voice that God
sorry,
grows
my
in with.
voice does not meet your standards.
Aiden asked, what is more important for uni, level 2 or level 3? Level 2 and level 3 are important for different reasons.
Yeah.
So, in getting into halls of residence and applying for scholarships, what they rely on is your level 2 results. Now, I think you can get UE actually from level 2. Or is it level 3 as well?
No, you need it. You need level 3 now because you need to get you need to get level 3. You need to get the 14 credits and 3 UE approved subjects at level 3. So you need level 3 as well.
Yes.
So for university entrance, like to get into university, level 3. For halls, scholarships. Level 2.
And the reason that they rely on your level 2 results for those is because you apply for halls and all that kind of funky stuff around August-ish. So obviously your level 3 results are not going to be out, so they have to just rely on your level 2 results.
If you find UE confusing, that's understandable because it is confusing. There's a Wholesome half hour on it, but there's also we've uploaded an excerpt on it. Just search StudyTime, university entrance on YouTube, and you'll find it. Anything else you want to talk about? I'm very tired right now for some reason.
I'm very sorry that you've been afflicted, so.
Best study method?
Best study method depends on who you are, depends on what you're studying for. So we always talk about a lot of different kinds of tips. I think a really good general one is either blocking or Pomodoros. That's the word that I had in my
Pomodoro.
head. But it depends on what you're studying for. For sciences and stuff, I always recommend like things like flowcharts, particularly for something like bio. Flashcards are always good.
Flowcharts for everything.
Oh, flowcharts are always good. I think, as a rule of thumb, best way to study is to make sure that you're engaging with the content, creating resources. So when I say this, what I mean is that you're actually processing what you're doing. You're providing your own answers. You are writing everything in your own words. You're not just copy-pasting something or just reading something or highlighting.
Do something with this information. You don't want to just be reading where the kind of information's just coming in and then you're not doing anything with it. You want to be like using your mind to like access the information, like interpret it and apply it. That's what you want to do when you're studying. That's why past papers are good. That's why flashcards are good, because you have to recall it. That's why making mind maps are good, because you have to think about it. Make that brain work. Make it work hard.
P.S. Sorry, George. Nicola has asked, I've got level 3 next year. Would the scholarship exams be worth it? I would say yes.
You have nothing to lose, right?
You genuinely have. I think scholarships are seldom talked about by, I think, schools and teachers. And if you're lucky enough to be in a school where they do offer like an individual course just for school, then like well done. But for most people, they quite often just have to do it themselves. I think school exams are definitely worth it. I think you might have to pay like $20-30
like
for entrance into each one. It's not that huge. And I think they are worth it. They do take sometimes more like of your own study, a little bit more flexible with your knowledge, but essentially what they're doing is assessing like everything that you would learn at level 3, potentially a little bit more, but together, as opposed to in discrete different standards. So you, for example, like if you're doing math or a calc, you might have integration and complex numbers in the same question, as opposed to in completely different standards like you would in the actual exam. I think, long story short, it's worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it because you have a shot at like getting actual money, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing I'd say is it's very similar to what we were talking about earlier with the SNA and the not achieved and the standard not attempted.
Yeah.
Like no one's gonna like see your academic for starters, no one's gonna see your academics transcript, full stop, end of story. But no one's gonna like look at your academics transcript and be like, oh, this guy tried school and didn't get it.
Yeah.
No, like that's not a thing that will ever happen to you in your life ever. Same with not achieved. No one's gonna look at your academic transcript and be like, oh, this guy tried it and didn't get it.
Yeah, nobody.
No one's ever gonna do that in your life.
Ever.
Literally ever.
And if they do, they suck. Don't be with them either.
Universities don't care if
honestly,
that's like the main concern for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would recommend giving it a shot because like literally, especially with Skull, like a lot of the time you have to realize that like not many people try for Skull. So like literally by trying,
even those enrolled in it quite often don't. Like you probably find that when everyone that's actually enrolled in Skull for that course, you can take about 30% of those who are enrolled in it as like either not even turning up or turning up but not even trying it.
Yeah.
Genuinely. That's like I think like a proper
literally,
statistic or something like that.
And because of that, like literally by showing up and giving it a shot, you're already
better than like a third of the people who are enrolled in it. So
and a lot of the time like with Skull, because you're competing for kind of that top few percent, like by showing up and like on the day, like you may happen to get a good question, or even you might not think it's a good question, but you might interpret it in a way the marker's what I'm trying to say is like by showing up, you automatically have increased your odds exponentially. I reckon it's totally worth trying for Skull.
Remember that Skull isn't necessarily about content, it's about thinking. What they want is for you to show that you are an independent organism that is capable of their own thoughts and logical reasoning, as a rule of thumb, but yes. Aiden also asked, if you get a scholarship, how long does it last? Say if I wasn't going to uni straight away, I think they can be valid for like up to 3 years, but I could be wrong.
I don't quite know how it works.
I would be I would
you
say
ask in a
that it
help
would be
group,
like
we'll find out for you.
guaranteed that you could still get it, like at least if you took like a gap year. Like I think that surely there is something in place that would mean that you don't have to go to uni straight away to be able
Yeah,
to.
there is some sort of limit. I'm not sure when it is.
Yeah, there will be a time period. I want to say 3 years, but I think that might be too
I feel
generous.
I feel like it might be 2. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
If you ask in our help group,
Might be
someone
even
will
be on the
answer it for
website,
you.
to be quite
Oh,
honest.
it
You
will
could
be on the
you could just look on the
You could
website.
just Google it, you'll find out.
Sorry, we can't give you like the quick, easy answer.
Unfortunately, we are not the NCEA dictionaries of the world.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I wish I was an NCEA dictionary. That'd be an amazing proposition.
Ugh.
Just recall all this National Certificate of Educational Achievement content.
Yeah.
Right. from
Something for
my
the
head.
CV, surely.
Oh, I'll totally chuck that on my CV. I haven't written a CV in a lot. Here's like a weird anecdote. I haven't had to like.
Do you mean
update
anecdote?
Anecdote. Yeah. This is how well my brain functions at the moment. I haven't had to update my CV in a very long time
Is it because you've had the same job?
because I've had the same job for a very long time.
Yeah.
CVs are fun. CVs are lots of fun. You should have a CV. If you're in high school, like you should actually just like have a CV ready to go at all times. I'd highly
Yeah.
recommend doing that. Don't listen to what I just
even
said.
if even if you aren't looking for a job or like don't necessarily want a job, having a CV, like taking your time to even write up something like basic that you could potentially add to later is better than having to write one from scratch.
Yeah.
Like all
Because
the time.
what will happen inevitably is you'll find out about a job that you might want. You might find out about a scholarship that you need to apply for.
Yeah.
And you'll realise that the deadline is the next day.
Yeah.
And by having it ready, you'll do yourself a favour.
Be Becky.
Yeah. Be Becky, be prepared. Maybe that's something if you are looking for something to do once you've finished your exams. Maybe that's something to do on the checklist. It would literally only take you 2 hours. If you don't know how to do it, literally just Google it.
Yeah, there's so
Careers
much out there.
NZ is a good place to
Yeah,
start. For
yeah,
something
really
like
good
that.
place. We had a question about tips for social science in brackets history. I kind of talked about that right at the beginning. If you go to the beginning of either the podcast or the live stream.
Live stream won't be up after this.
Yeah, live stream. Oh, won't it?
No.
Oh.
We don't keep it up. You have to go. You have to go watch us. If you want to watch the full episode, if you're watching live, you want to watch the full episode on Thursday, it will come out. StudyTime.co.
Okay, well then for the sake of the argument, I will just like give it again. Is make sure you've got a strong structure that you're going to follow. Make sure you're not giving a narrative, and make sure you know how to assess a source. Those are my like very general tips. So take that and run.
Yeah. 2 exams same day. What's your approach for the day off? Like
cry.
obviously in
No,
advance, study beforehand for both exams.
For the day, I think make sure that you've brought to school like snacks and stuff like that to eat in between. I know you can get
sorry, you finish.
you can get like a little bit worked up and a little bit stressed out knowing that you have to sit 2 exams in a day, and you can kind of like forget that you need to like, I don't know, like let your body like live between.
Yeah.
So make sure you have like a water bottle, make sure you've got food, all that kind of stuff, because it is going to save you in between.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I would highly recommend, like it's very tempting once you finish one exam to like open your book and start studying for the next one. I would highly recommend taking a proper break between exams, like minimum half an hour.
Even if it's
ideally
to go
like a
out and
full
like
hour.
get food, you know,
Go
like
out, get
walking out
food,
and just taking yourself
sit
away.
in a park, just walk down the street, feel the wind go across your face.
Yeah.
Because like it is good to like mentally reset, because otherwise
Yeah.
your brain cannot operate at like, you know, full processing capacity for like, you know, if you include first exam break and second exam for like 8 hours straight, like that's not something that your brain is capable of.
Yeah.
In the middle, let your brain switch off, recharge, and then you're going to be in a much better position to hit that second exam.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's something that make sure that you've brought your study resources to your exam, but don't dive into them straight away, because you're only you're gonna take yourself from a stressful situation to another stressful situation, and it's only going to hike it up even more.
And ideally, the study resources you look at on the day as like
Cheat
not,
sheets, not like there's
it's not like
summaries.
you're not trying to read through all your notes. Like you have a couple pages summary, like literally one double-sided page, like summary
Max,
of like the
per
things
sentence.
that you, of the things that you're not sure of or you want to 100% make sure you know.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of study that I'd be doing on the day. I wouldn't be trying to like read through my notes or
Yeah.
like even past papers, not necessarily like in that gap in between, not worthwhile use of
No, I
time.
agree.
Just let your brain reset, and that way when you get into the next exam, you're gonna be primed, you're gonna be ready.
Yeah. On the day of an exam, regardless of how many exams you have in that day, you shouldn't be learning any new content on the day of an exam.
Yeah.
If you need to, but if you have prepared enough beforehand, you should be revising, not relearning.
Yeah. Hattie wants to know, can you give me some life advice?
Hattie, you're a wonderful person anyway, so you don't need life advice. I need you to give me life advice.
I reckon you need this is how you must live your life. You must go to university, you must get married by 25, you must
retire to Florida.
10 kids by age 30, and you must retire by 40 and have 10 kids in Florida.
Yep.
That's
You're not in Florida, just the kids. I don't know how they got there.
Yeah, where are you?
I don't know.
Hastings.
Yeah, what's very fun to me is I had Kia, like her first video, people were like, that's Kia from like so-and-so, and I'm so glad that like nobody has ever, I was low-key at high school. I think a lot of people must, I don't know if anyone's ever thought this, but yeah, when I was in high school, like I think a few of us here from StudyTime, we get people asking us stuff like all the time, like, how are you so smart and stuff like that, and I'm like, well, when I was at high school, I wasn't even a prefect. Like I was so low-key.
Yeah,
I wasn't.
It is funny how life plays out like that.
Yeah, I always think it's quite funny that I work for like an educational platform, not necessarily like because I'm not academic in any way, shape or form, but because like when I was in high school, I didn't hold any of those like, at the time, what people consider like prestigious student roles.
Yeah, it is
regardless
really
of whatever way your school wants to glorify it, whether you're like a house leader or like a prefect or whatever name they want to slap on it. I'm not undermining anything, but I'm just saying.
No, it is funny because in high school it can very much feel like I don't know. When I was in high school, I wasn't a prefect, and I was like disappointed that I wasn't a prefect.
I think I was disappointed at the time as well, and then I saw how much work it was, and I thought, no, I don't want to do that.
But like it's fascinating how life plays out, because if I think back to the people who were prefects and weren't prefects in high school, I can think of a lot of people who were prefects who are doing fine but aren't at the top of their game. And I can think of some guys who were not prefects and are like killing life.
Like honestly killing
doing the best.
If any school anywhere ever wants to have me, I will give you a speech about how high school is not important. No, I'm kidding. No, high school is important, but like if I low-key like wish that I could go back to my high school and give a speech about how I was never the prefect, I was never like anyone of like any prestige, and like it's absolutely fine. Like, because I think it's something that kids need to hear.
No, I think it is important.
You get so sucked into the bureaucracy of a high school clique structure, which is so odd. And I know I'm going on a weird tangent right now. Anyone wants to let me go have a rant at their school,
angry.
like let me in. Like, I'll have the police on call, it's fine. Kate said, I'm studying while listening to this. It's making me focus. Where can I listen to the podcast? You can listen to the podcast. I think there is a link on our StudyTime page.
You can
it's
just
also
go
on YouTube.
StudyTime.co.nz/podcast. You can go to the YouTube channel, but StudyTime.co.nz/podcast directs you to the podcast feed, the YouTube, the website, whatever you want.
Yeah, podcast is just the audio. If you want the video with our lovely faces, you can check out our
YouTube channel. We'll answer a couple more questions and then I'll let you depart. We'll go back to my cave where I edit videos all day, non-stop.
Cool.
What do you do when you're under the mark
for level 2? And your 2 externals could make or break you. Do you use stress?
Okay, firstly,
little bit of stress is okay.
Little bit of stress is okay. It's a natural response.
It means that you think what you're doing is important.
Which is probably good. But they won't. The reality is 2 exams will never make or break your life. That's just kind of, and it can feel like that.
Yeah. Worst comes to worst, StudyTime isn't associated with NCEA or VIC. Just as it's not associated with any.
Would like to make that very clear.
We are not a part of any institution. We're based in Wellington, so obviously a lot of us are VIC students ourselves.
But we're not.
Yeah, we're not related to any of that kind of thing. But what we were saying before is stress means you think it's important. Too much stress is debilitating. Worst comes to worst, if you are really on the border there, next year, because if it's level 2, obviously next year I'm presuming you would be year 13. What you can do is like potentially just pick up a couple of extra level 2 standards at the beginning of the year to cross that border to actually pass it, and then you could like finish the rest of level 3 in that year as well.
And if you want to enroll in a course for university and you need something like the 16 maths credits or something, you can always do a bridging course at university to do that.
100%. That's always the thing.
There's always there's so many options. No external will ever make or break your life. you have my absolute promise. If you think I am wrong, you can comment on this video and
We'll check in with you in a couple of years and see if you even remember it.
And yeah, that's also true. That's also very true.
We've had a couple of questions, like maybe this is the stuff we'll finish on. We had a couple people in our live stream being like, how can we be a part of StudyTime? If you are still in high school and you want to be more of a part of StudyTime, feel free to, like, you can, I don't know where the application is, but we have a StudyTime Insiders group where...
I'll post the link to, when we publish this podcast, it will be on the show notes at studytime.co.nz.
Yeah.
You can join the Insiders group, and you get to see like a lot of the stuff we're doing like before we make it public.
And if we have like ideas, we'll float that with you guys and see what you guys' thoughts are.
The people are awesome. You also get prizes for participating in that.
Give out prizes, that's fun. Okay, maybe last question. Study tips for those with learning difficulties. So this, I think, is something that we have addressed in a previous podcast as well, but if you have a learning difficulty, first off, make sure that your school is aware, and if you need it, you have a reader-writer in your exam, because that can be hugely helpful for people.
You probably should have already organised that by now.
That should be like I have done it, it shouldn't be on your to-do list, it should be on your done list. I think in your own study, I think even if this is the only thing that you take from this, a learning difficulty doesn't make somebody stupid. It doesn't matter what it is. It might mean that you have to study things in slightly different ways to accommodate for it, but it doesn't mean you're less capable, ever. So a learning difficulty doesn't make you an idiot. Please don't ever think that that is a thing. You might have to adjust certain learning strategies to accommodate for it. And you can do a little bit of this with trial and error with some of the techniques that we talked about, like Pomodoro, I think a really classic example we use.
Google is your friend.
Google is your friend.
YouTube is your friend.
Yeah. You can get a lot of that kind of thing. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Should we finish on that wholesome note?
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. If you're watching live, you can watch this later. It comes out Thursday, studytime.co.nz/podcast.
Yep.
If you're watching this recorded, thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate it.
Yep,
if you have questions for next week, drop them in the comments below. Thank you, David Seymour, for
providing our opening thing.
Providing us the opening for this episode.
Anyone listening on the live stream will not know.
Yeah, you don't know what we're talking about, but trust me, it's good.
Clickbait to head over to the podcast.
Yeah, head over to the podcast. You really want to watch it. Yeah, give me that view count. Get those
Validate
views.
him.
Validate me. Validate Mel.
So he can afford throat lozenges.
So, here's the deal. If you guys get this video, the YouTube version of this podcast, you get that over to 1,000 views. You get over 1,000 views. Actually, no. I'll make it easy. 700, because we got 500 on the episode from 2 weeks ago. If you get 700 views on the YouTube episode, the YouTube version of this podcast, this is for live stream people, and the recorded people, share this with your friends. So get 700 views on this episode. I will bring throat lozenges in next week with my own money. I'll buy them. I will eat throat lozenges for you.
Just to make a very passive aggressive point. Okay.
Thanks so much for watching.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Ka kite anō. Best of luck with exams.
Yeah, good luck, team.
We'll see you later.